So thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So, past Saturday night, we had Ajagba, FA Ajagba versus Jonathan Rice. The FA Ajagba, as we all know, was an up-and-coming Nigerian prospect. He is currently with Top Rank. You know, that was his first fight. I think he's something like 13-0. Could be wrong about that, but he's in around that. He's in around the 13-14 mark. But Jonathan Rice, probably the best name on his resume as of now. Jonathan Rice is going down the road of being a journeyman at this stage, but he is tricky, as we saw on Saturday night. Ajagba is an interesting one, because when Ajagba was coming up, and it was really kind of was it Fred Cassie he fought, or was meant to fight, who walked out of the ring. I think it might have been Fred Cassie, or it might have been someone. No, Curtis Harper, I think it was, actually, not Fred Cassie. I think it was Curtis Harper who walked out of the ring before they even, started, before the bell even went. That was what kind of made people kind of take note of Ajagba. Not take note of him in terms of technical skill, but people were like, okay, well, who is this guy? And then we see a couple of highlight reel knockouts. We see a guy who can definitely punch, but we're seeing a guy who has some flaws there. We're seeing a guy who is very upright, who I don't want to say has questionable punch resistance, but it is a bit of a worry when you're dropped by a journeyman who was on the verge of getting stopped. I mean, literally, he was on the verge of stopping that Ergo Cassidy's guy, and the shot that dropped the Ajagba was not a great shot, was not a great right hand, and he went down in that third round of that fight. So that's a worrying sign. That's not a good sign. And as I said in my post-fight video, when he hurt Jonathan Rice in the second round with that right hand, he didn't go for it. Like, he probably has memories of the last time I hurt a guy real bad and he stayed on his feet. I ended up down. So, looking at all that, you're looking at Ajagba and you're just thinking, right, who is he going to fight? Now, how are they going to match this guy? Who is he going to put him in there with next? He said by his own admission he is 2 years off a world title fight, and I'd be inclined to agree with that. I mean, you would not want to be putting this guy in anywhere near world level. I mean, that's just a no-go. That's just a no-go at this stage. In terms of Ajagba, if there was improvements made, as in getting him to have a bit of movement, maybe fight a little bit side on, or just even adjust his stance a little bit now and again when he's in the ring, just so he's not so stiff. He is so upright. It's crazy how upright he is. And as I said in that video, when he was throwing the right hand, like, he jab, and that was literally all he knew in that fight. It was just jab, right hand. It was precious little of anything else. And when he was throwing the right hand, it was very crude. It was a slapping shot, and he was stepping in with the right hand. And by doing that, he was closing the distance down. And he ended up getting caught a couple of times with counter right hands from Jonathan Rice. That fight, and obviously, as I said, Jonathan Ross is tricky. Or Jonathan Rice, not Jonathan Ross. But Jonathan Rice is tricky. He can mess you around, but there's ways you could have made that easier for yourself. So I think Ajagba knew that was not like his baseline performance. That was just a down there, a subpar performance. So he knows himself there's improvements to be made. It has me thinking, how far can this guy actually go? Because he definitely has punching power there. People have compared him to Deontay Wilder a bit. He's a lot more technical than Deontay Wilder. He's a lot more technical in the way he works things. He is quite one-dimensional in the sense that I don't say one-dimensional, but it's like he only has one pace, if you know what I mean. So he only seems to know jab, right hand, jab, right hand. There's no variety with the jab. It's just to the head and throw the right hand. He's not going to the body. He's no left hook to speak of. He's not really got an inside game. So these are little things he needs to develop. And people say, yeah, he's better than Deontay Wilder in terms of a technical point of view. Well, it's hard to get much worse than that. But as I said, Wilder is a lot faster. He's definitely not as upright. He's very awkward. And that awkwardness is to his, benefit at times. And obviously Wilder has, seriously, once in a lifetime power for a heavyweight, seriously. That right hand is so fast as well from Deontay. Ajagba doesn't have any of that. And as I said, Ajagba, he's defensively, he's not been great defensively in the past. What we've seen some of his fights, especially this Jonathan Rice fight. So there's a lot that needs to be worked on with Ajagba. Do I think that his trainer can do it? I'm sure he can. I forget the guy's name there, but I know he was trained by Ronnie Shields. And as I said in that post-fight review, Ronnie Shields is an underrated trainer. He is a very good trainer. So for Ajagba to leave him, this guy, I'm assuming he's a good trainer as well. But Ronnie Shields, very underrated as a trainer, very very underrated, extremely underrated. He's got some good guys. He's trained some good guys as well. So maybe he should have stayed there a bit longer. But moving forward with Ajagba, he is going to need to be managed very carefully and matched very carefully. They're not going to want to put him in there with, like, I think seeing someone, I was on Blue Collar Sports Del Boy stream earlier, and someone I think mentioned Carlos Takam as a potential opponent for Efe Ajagba. Oh, I would not be putting him anywhere near Carlos Takam. I would favour Takam very heavily in that fight, extremely heavily. I'd favour Carlos Takam if they were putting the ring together. I think Takam is working with Top Rank now. No, I'd be picking Carlos Takam night and day if they put him in there with Efe Ajagba next. I don't see that working out well. I think Ajagba, a fight like Jonathan Rice, yeah, that's fine. There are some other, journeymen out there in the American scene that, you could put him in there with, that are durable, that are going to come with a bit of ambition and, fiddle around a bit. But in terms of, as I said, top 20 heavyweights like a Carlos Takam, maybe like a Helene or someone like that, not right now. And I think Ajagba knows that, but not right now. This is a guy who needs some seasoning. In terms of how I think he can go, or how far I think he can go in the heavyweight division, I mean, it's very early to say. It's very early to say what I think he can do and, how far I think he can go. I think that if improvements can be made and sufficient improvements can be made, he could be a problem, definitely, at world level. But we need to see some serious improvements from Ajagba in his upcoming fights. Whoever he fights next, we need to see some improvements. That to me is a given. We definitely need to see that. I think that he's been in there with, like I said, he's not been in there with great guys. He's been in there with guys like Kajanu, guys like that, Amir Mansour. At the time, Amir Mansour was a decent win, but this is a near 50-year-old Amir Mansour. It's seen much better days. So Jonathan Rice, probably the best name, as I said, on his resume. So there are other kind of journeymen around the American scene. I think they should be putting him in there with just to get a gauge of where he's at, like just with a bit of ambition as well. You don't want to put him in there with just cream puffs who are just going to fall down. I mean, he's past that at this stage. So yeah, we need to really watch Ajagba and just see where he's going. As I said, in terms of how far he can go, there needs to be improvements there. He has a bit of time. Like he's 25, according to BoxRec. I think he's 25 or 26. Make it out what you will. We've seen fighters from Africa, from the Caribbean as well, Cuba and places like that. It's, allegedly, look at Frank Sanchez, 28, I think he is 28. Yeah, you believe that? So we need to just see how he is. But apparently he's got time on his side. We need to see improvements, and I think Ajagba himself saying he's 2 years away from fighting for a world title, he knows himself there's improvements that need to be made. So if they can be made, if there's sufficient improvements can be made, such as a bit more head movement, develop a left hook, try and fight a little bit more side on, just to maximise your reach, because he has quite a long reach. He's got like an 80 something inch reach, like an 84, 85 inch reach, so he's got very long reach, very long arms. So if he can fight a bit more side on and maximise that reach, I think, like I said, he could be a problem. I do wonder about his punch resistance though. That's something I wonder about. If you're getting dropped on the back foot against a guy, who was hurt, but one shot, that's not a good sign. But we need to wait and see how that goes. Those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. How do you see Ajagba going? What do you think? Do you rate him? Do you think he could be one of the top guys in a couple of years of heavyweight? Do you think that, he could pick up a world title or even unify? Let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Of course, if you are new to the channel, smash the like button. I think I've already said smash the like button, but still, please do. And of course, comment down below. Hope you enjoyed this, people. I'll talk to you. Peace.